Hey there, guys. This is David with Tarot and Astrology for All, and I'm here to give you guys the collective tarot reading for, I guess, the month, right? Now, making a couple of changes here and there. As you can see, I've kind of created my own background here. I also have music, so no, this should be good. Let's see how this turns out to be. Welcome for those of you guys who have just gotten here. This is the collective tarot reading, and I am open to give personal readings too if anybody is interested in one. Right now, I'm just going to go ahead and shuffle my cards. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and leave them in the comments, and I'll go ahead and answer them as best as I can. Do be on the lookout for a new channel that I'm coming out with. Not sure what I'm going to call it yet, but this channel is going to have things like discussions about aliens, discussions about simulation theory, and all sorts of different juicy stuff that, I guess you could say for one reason or another might be considered taboo. So, or things that we just don't normally talk about for one reason or another. Also, I will be inviting guests to talk on that show, and I might just make it a podcast or something like that. What sign am I on? This is actually a collective reading, but if you would like, I can do a quick personal read for you. See what the cards draw up. And actually, Vivi, I do remember you are a Libra, right? So instead of me being clueless about what sign to do after this, I could just start off with the Libra reading, and from there we can see where we go as far as the signs. Each of the signs are going to be done individually. This shouldn't be too long of a reading, and this shouldn't be too long of a reading for all the other ones. I want to try to keep it within the 5 to 10 minute mark. So let's see. All right, so let's start off with the animal cards. Let's see what's happening with the collective, and let's see what's going on in the world today. All right. Let me move this over here. All right, so I'm going to be looking at the astrology chart, and I'm just going to be viewing. All right, so good news for me, inward harmony, but let's see about everybody else. Does it? Thank you. All right, so let's see. How do we start it off? Well, I do believe that Mercury is one of those planets that is important. So, oh, okay. So Mercury just entering Virgo today. For those of you who have Mercury in your third house, I'm just going off of my chart here, but for those of you who have Mercury in your third house, this is a time to get detail oriented. This is a time to check on things that for one reason or another, you maybe didn't want to check. Maybe you didn't have the motivation, the inspiration, et cetera, et cetera. But this is a time for checking on those details because Mercury is in its own house and in its own sign, I should say, and in its own house in that matter. So anything having to do with third house Mercury would have to do with communication. It would also have to do with your thinking and your thought patterns, as well as the details. Not just behind those, but details behind everything. So, all right, let's start off with a card. Oh, look at that. So we have the elk in the reverse. Now, the elk is one of those creatures that symbolizes masculinity. So I feel like the world right now isn't really feeling too masculine in a sense that we're being put on lockdowns. We're being told what we should do instead of really asking ourselves what really needs to be done. Now, I don't know um, what this solar eclipse means on this, but as you can see, the card itself is an Earth card. So this is all about stabilization and grounding. And good thing because Mercury is in an Earth sign, so that's very good grounding influence. Now, make sure that we all do this before September 9th. That's when the sign change from Mars happens and it goes into stable Taurus. Now, Taurus can be pretty, how would I say, stubborn. So there's a lot of things that we might not want to change about ourselves after that. Also, Taurus is a lazy sign. So, once it goes into Taurus, it's not going to be all too fun when you're trying to get things done and you're not able to. But I do believe that right now, while you have Mars in its own sign, you can get a lot of things done. Also, let's see. Hmm. Well, I do have to mention that Mercury and also the Sun right now are making angles to Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn, which is a very calming sign as well. It's an Earth sign. Now, the thing about Capricorn and having all these other planets in Capricorn is having the ousting of a lot of people who are not, I guess, having the best interest in mind for the greater public. So this is a good time to kind of take a look at a lot of different things, not just the people who give you your rules or the people who say or who are above you or the people who are in higher positions, but this is also about really communicating what needs to be said. Now, one thing that I will mention, and I don't think I really need to mention it, but the black egg came in the reverse. The black egg is connected to your throat chakra, and the throat chakra is communication. Now, with the black egg in the reverse and the elk in the reverse, this is basically telling me that we need to stand up for ourselves and we need to speak our truth. A lot of people are trying to speak their truth right now, and they're being censored. Now, that's kind of something that's typical of any influence of Saturn. It's restrictive, but at the same time, we know what we need to do. You have Venus in opposition to Jupiter right now, and in some sense, we might not feel like we quite understand how to do that, but this is something that we'll learn here within the next following months, and I can update you guys on that pretty well. I'll be doing these readings monthly, and as far as the signs go, I think I will do those every 2 weeks. So be looking for those on a Monday or or no, not Wednesday, Thursday. All right, Epona's Wild Daughter. Now, Epona's Wild Daughter is one of those cards that talks about fear, talks about nightmares or feeling as if we're in a nightmare. And I do feel like a lot of people were thinking that, this whole thing that was going on with the pandemic, these lockdowns, businesses closing down, all of it, people might have felt like this was a nightmare, like this is something that they couldn't get out of. And in a sense, if you take a look at this card right here, she's got her face to her knees, and there's this other creature right here that's kind of not weighing down on her shoulders, but like I almost feel like it's giving this character a hug. So in a sense, I feel like in some way, shape, or form, our soul has been hugged, so to speak. And in a sense, this is what's going to lead us to being able to like lift our heads and get ourselves out of this perceived nightmare. I say perceived because a lot of it is based on your perspective, and whatever perspective you take on is something that will definitely dictate how you think and how you act and how you behave. All right. Now, the singer of the chalice in the reverse. Oh, well, that's indicative of, well, this card is is a card that talks about hope. Now, with all of the singers, even if they're in the reverse, they're not anything that is a negative. Is more of like a dampening of that energy. And this cup specifically, it's about joy. It's about rejoicing. It's about hope. And with this card in the reverse, right in between the elk and the black egg, I kind of feel like a lot of people have been losing hope. A lot of people have just been going with the flow, not really trying to put in their own voice, not really trying to do what's necessary in order for things to change around. But we have to realize that, as with any egg, this is energy that's building up, guys. And at the same time, since it's energy that's building up with things having to do with the throat chakra and the number five, these are changes that are needed to be brought about by the voice, collective voice. Do remember that this is a collective reading, guys. So it's very interesting that this is talking about standing up for ourselves as well as communication. Now, this is communication from the divine because we have not only an ethereal card with this black egg, which is signified by this circle right here, and if you see, it's kind of like uh, holographic in a sense. And this card right here is also about the divinity that we all have. Now, if you add 1 plus 2, comes out to 3. 3 is supposed to be a divine number, so that's something to keep in mind as well. Now, these nightmares, I feel like they're connected to things that we've been trying to do to fulfill ourselves, to bring ourselves into a happy state. Something about personal fulfillment. And for whatever reason, everything that's been going on right now has not allowed that to happen. So these changes that are needed to be brought about are what's going to bring that happiness for us. All right, and the Lao Mei in the reverse. All right, now as far as the globally, yes, it's true. We do need to work on unconditional giving and receiving. Now, as far as what that is, well, that's going to be different. This is something that we need to do, particularly for the future, because with the pixies, with the fairy who was kissed by the pixies, this is it's kind of like universal energy that's coming to you to motivate you. Now, when I say motivate you, I mean motivate us as a collective. This card right here is number 21, so that also comes out to a 3. Threes are looking very important because the last 3 cards that we've drawn, the Chalice, the Lao Mei, and the Fairy who was kissed by the Pixies, all of those cards are number 3 with the number 9. Now, 3, as I've already mentioned, is about communication, but it's also about thought process. It's also about thought patterns, and communication goes both ways, right? Communication has to happen from you to them and from them to you. It has to be a reciprocal balance between these two things, or else nothing is ever going to get across. No one's going to hear anything, and everything's just going to be tossed under the rug, so to speak. So, as a collective, it's necessary for us to give and receive unconditionally, especially in communication. So, I know I will say that it might feel like we're trying to reach out for something, like trying to reach out for some kind of hope, some kind of something. And Lady of the Shadows, number 44, is a card that adds up to 8. And 8 is a very karmic number, but it's also about abundance. This card specifically, and I'll go ahead and show you guys, is a card that's connected to being trapped in the shadows or feeling like we're trapped in the shadows. Remember, I mentioned about that nightmare that we're getting over, and that hopelessness that the collective might be feeling right now. This is one of those. This is one of those things that it's necessary for us to cut out because not only are we getting the 44 right here, but if I look at that next card, it's also a 4. Here, the Fiery Sword is one of those cards that asks us, what do we need to cut out in our life? Because it no longer uh, fulfills us. It no longer meets our expectations, etc., etc. So, and I feel that one of the things that we need to cut out is feeling like we're in a prison, like we can't do anything, like we have no choice. Now, I just recently had a conversation with somebody yesterday, and all I could say was victim mentality, but they were feeling like they had no choice, and a lot of assumptions were thrown out on their part. Now, the only thing that I was mentioning is you always have a choice. Now, if you feel like you don't have a choice and you tell yourself you don't have a choice, you're not going to have a choice by that definition alone. All right, so now we move on to the Rider Waite Tarot. Now, I do feel like some people might feel like they don't have that connection to intuition, or that creativity that's necessary. I feel like we do. It's just, we gotta dig deep for it. Both these cards are in the reverse, and some people don't want to dig deep. But in order for you to gain that intuitive notion and be aware of the patterns and be able to read between the lines, it's necessary in order to become that master, right? Master of yourself, and master the ability to help others. Now, I don't think that's going to happen for some people with the wolf in the reverse. I feel it's more about us trying to gather our courage and gather our energy as a collective. Now, as I was talking about this, I went ahead and drew cards. We have the Queen of Wands in the upright and the Ace of Cups. So collectively, we don't feel like we have that ability to give and receive. This is a card that talks mostly about downloads and gaining that universal love. But with this in the reverse, I kind of feel like there's an upload that's necessary for people to send messages to the universe so that the universe can help in changing those circumstances. And I feel like one of the things that's necessary with the Queen of Wands in the upright is courage, plain and simple. When we have courage, we have the ability to receive the help that we need when we need it, instead of trying to push it away. And we give and receive unconditionally. I mean, it could be that some of you guys are giving too much and not receiving enough. It could be the other way around, where you're receiving too much and you're not giving enough. Whatever the case is, I feel that a lot of this has been happening because, one, we've been trapped in a nightmare. Two, we've lost the ability to hold on to hope. And three, there's not an equal give and take in communication, which is causing us to feel like we don't have a choice, but more so like we don't have a voice. So let's see what's going on with the chalice and see what we can get out of this. All right, Capricorn, the devil. All right, so, I feel like this collectively, there's been this recurring cycle of being trapped in our own vices, being trapped in, how would I say, being trapped in the helplessness mentality, being trapped in the victim mentality. Now, I feel that these chains that we have around our neck are chains that are very, very loose. These are chains that we can toss off at any moment. But I think there's a sense of fear. And not only that, I feel like this is something that all of us have been trapped in, on a continual basis, whether it's on the physical level, the emotional level, mental level, soul level, really doesn't matter. But I feel it's something that we've been doing on an everyday basis. And you know what that describes to me? Habits. So there's harmful habits that are keeping us from actually really seeing some of the positive in life, and more so seeing the joy in life and seeing what could possibly be hope. And so with these vices and these, because we're talking about that little shadow side of ourselves. We gotta go through that, and though it might be a nightmare, right, some people might realize that this is not a nightmare, but it's actually a help because it brings healing. But we and in a sense we know that this is something that if we do it, it'll give us passion and it'll give us abundance. But for whatever reason, we're just stuck to the same habits, and changing them, well, for for better or for worse, happens easier for some people than others. It's all a matter about forgiving ourselves. Once we forgive ourselves, we forgive other people, and that allows us to speak our truth, stand up for ourselves, and at the same time, give and receive unconditionally. All right, now, I said, well, what was the big issue here? Giving and receiving, right? Look at this. I cannot make this up, people. When we get the Eight of Pentacles in the upright, this is talking about the things that we know we have to do. This is talking about the work that we have to do, and we know that we have a lot of work ahead of us. When we have this card in the reverse, though, this is talking about major issues. This is talking about the real issue that's causing a lot of what's going on, and this is on the side of the black egg. So unconditional giving and receiving, right? The world is having a problem with that right now. Communication and getting the truth out, that's also a problem that we're having right now. These are both major issues that are currently going on in the world, and part of it has to do with having a different outlook on life. Now, I do feel that a lot of people right now don't feel like they have the energy. If you think you don't have the energy right now, wait until Mars goes into an Earth sign or goes in reverse. Now, we all know that there are things that we need to walk away from. There's certain things that certain concepts, maybe certain thought patterns, certain, I don't know, the thoughts that may have hurt us in the past or that had the ability to hurt us in the past that have been keeping us from trying to move on. This is also on number six, guys. So 6 and 6 with the Devil card. 5 plus, what was it? 5 or 10 plus 5 comes out to 6, right? So in a sense, I feel is it. I feel like is what we've been doing is compromising. And sure, there is a necessary need to compromise, guys, but when it's necessary to stand up for yourself and your intuition is telling you, you know, no, Layla, but I will be doing that today. Yes, I could do your reading, Big Bertha, Little Bertha. I could do your reading too. And do you guys want, actual readings or just quick readings on here? Because I could do either or. Right before I get started on the other ones, I can go ahead and get your guys' readings out of the way. And no, Layla, I have not done Cancer yet. All right. Aquarius. Huh, this is interesting. So, one of the things that we need to do in order to find this hope is to communicate with other people. Now, as I was thinking about doing this, Layla, I seen there's Cancer right here. If you see it, Cancer and Gemini, and then you have the Aquarius right there. From my angle, uh, one of the things that's necessary to do as far as communication with other people and connection, it's necessary to show care. Sure, it's necessary to show nurturing. It's necessary to show love, and what's going to be left, the ability to communicate. See, the way that I read this dice is whatever is done, right? The right thing to do is to show care, and what's left, communication. So, and don't ask me how I found that out, but since it landed on the chalice, the singer of the chalice, and on the devil, I also feel like it's necessary for us to show uh, care and nurturing to ourselves. The devil is a pretty how would I say? It's a card that seeks gratification, but through social means. Like, for instance, you have the status, you have the power, right? That's what Capricorn likes. They like the status, they like the power, they like being in control. But how can we be in control if we, one, have no hope, two, we don't care for ourselves, and three, we don't stand up for ourselves and speak for ourselves? You're doing yourself a great disservice when you do that. So Now let's move on to the planetary energies and see what's affecting the collective. All right, so we've got the South Node, and it landed on the Devil. Ooh, well, it goes without saying, guys, that when it comes to these things that we go back to, these vices, these addictions that we like to get into, it's necessary for us to really pay attention to to what's in our heart, because when we deal with the moon, you're dealing with feelings, you're dealing with emotions, and that's what our soul typically wants to go back to because it's easiest. But the thing is, the right thing to do is really focus on your individuality and on your uniqueness, and the only thing that would be left is order. What happens when you learn about yourself and you learn about your feelings and you learn about what it is that you go back to, what it is that keeps making you feel like you're hopeless, or like you have no joy in your life. It's these things that you've done on an everyday basis, and a lot of the times is speaking badly about ourselves. We They say that the negative thoughts are 4 to 7 times more powerful than positive thoughts, and it's I believe 10 times more likely to manifest itself when said out loud. So it's really necessary to be careful about what it is that we speak. And during this time is a really good time for us to think about what it is that we want to say and what it is that we want to project or receive, and become that before we do that. So before we go, let's see what number we're going to be dealing with here within the next month, and we'll find out what's going on in everything here and how it pertains to that number. Two. All right, so it comes to decisions, and look at that. There's two people watching and 2 likes right now. That's interesting. Very interesting. We've got twos, threes, and fours. 2, 3, 4. It's two away from a straight. But let's see. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4 is a step by step process. Um, Twos are normally about decisions. Two is normally about balance through decisions, but two is also about the light and the dark side. Now, you guys are going to trip out because there's two stones that I have right here that I set off to the side. One of them is the black stone, or it's a lava rock that I was given by somebody who was traveling through my town, and this stone right here, which I've kind of called the stability stone because it has both this light side and this dark side to it. And tell me why. I was looking at this prior to this reading, and now there's a lot of duality going on right here. Um, there's the three, the four, or the two, the three, and the four. Decisions that are made through communication that show care and that develop stability. Right now, if you look at this die, there's a two right there. Right, there's a one that I've seen, and look on each side is a three, and then a six. That shows well, either a multiplication, a doubling of that energy, or a tripling of that energy. But it all begins with the thought process. And as it starts off at the thought process, once you focus this energy onto a certain mode of being and a certain thought process, and you develop that and you put that into your daily habit, what ends up happening is that it comes out in your communication, all of your communication, body language, the way you write, the way you speak, the way you act, right? These are all things that tend to happen when you go the right path and you implement these things into your daily life. For those people that have those negative mindsets, chauvinistic mindsets, or anything like that, anything that you find annoying, that's something that they've done built on a daily level, and that's something that's going to be very hard to break, like I said, addictions. But we all know what we need to do in order to break them. So with that being said, this is a collective reading for you guys. I hope that this was helpful, and I hope that this is something that you guys can think back on and really ponder these things and find a way to speak your mind or speak your truth and to do it in a way where you can stand up for yourself and really, show people who you are and what you're about. I don't know what the significance uh, of the solar eclipse is at this point. I have not received any message from source or any vibrations dealing with explaining that, so I won't. But I will say that be on the lookout for this new channel that I'm coming up with, guys. Also, Layla, Big Bertha, on yeah, I seen your message. You said, could you do mine possibly as well? I could. Would you like yours done right here, or would you like yours done like on Messenger or something like that? Because we can do it that way. I was going to start charging $1 for my readings, but for you, I'll go ahead and just leave it at the free price since you're coming on the channel right now. Same for you, Layla, or unless you're willing to wait for the tarot readings that come out today. And what else? Um, yeah, I'll give you guys more information on that channel. So, without further ado, Layla, um, go ahead and message me. I'm gonna go ahead and put uh, see my messenger. Okay, so I'm going to put my Facebook and then messenger. All right, all right. So, Layla, were you looking to get a reading, or Big Bertha, were you looking to get a reading too? All right. If there's nothing else, I will go ahead and get ready for these other tarot readings. Thank you guys for joining. If you guys like it, share and subscribe. Let's see. I just wanted to ask if you could pick up any universal vibes for me. I feel some crazy energy. Um, yeah, sure. You know what? That seems like some. You know what? That seems like a tarot read that I should do right here before I get on to the other one. So, go ahead. Okay, yeah, this is something that I feel is going to need a little bit of time between us. So, go ahead and look for me on Messenger. I don't know if this channel has my Facebook, but I'll go ahead and make sure and put that on there as well. Um, you have my tarot and astrology for all thing right there, so look for that on Facebook as well. DavidJesus Barrozo, you should find me. I'm a guy wearing a suit as my thing, so be on the lookout for that. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and end this video. I can't. I could say that I did pretty well on this one. Wasn't too long, hopefully. Oh, thank you, thank you. If you enjoyed watching this, you should get ready for that new channel because there's there's a lot of stuff to talk about. There's a lot of things to joke about, and honestly, I feel like this will be a very good channel for people because they'll get the ability to view the things that are necessary to view, right? But they'll do it in a way where they get to laugh about it and not really treat the subjects so seriously, if you know what I mean. Oh no! All right. All right, so you guys take care. Thank you for watching. Thanks for the shares, the likes, the subscribes, and all of that. Um, if you guys are interested in getting either weekly or monthly tarot readings, you know, free of charge, of course, for people who become patrons, go ahead and let me know. I'll go ahead and let you know the Patreon link, and from there we can see what happens. So with that, I will go ahead and leave you guys, but do know that I will never abandon you guys, no matter how long it feels like I'm away. So with that, I hope you guys had fun, and I hope you guys will join me for the next videos that I put out today. So with that, thank you guys, and I will see you on the next video.